Everybody, welcome to today's webinar, Get Real-Time Control of Allowances and Contingencies with Clearstory. I'm going to take a look at the agenda. We're just going to walk through some introductions real quick. Our speakers today are Michelle Anderson and TJ Maglione. We're going to look at some traditional allowance and contingency challenges. Obviously, give you a look at Clearstory's real-time allowances feature that we just developed. Take a look at how it works, give you an idea of the before and after payoff and ROI that you can get with this killer new feature, and of course, do a live demo. For Q&A, please use the Q&A module at the bottom of your screen. You can also use chat. Q&A is the best way to get your questions to us. And we will field as many questions as we can at the conclusion of the webinar. And without further ado, I will hand it over to TJ and Michelle to get things started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle, head of product at Clearstory. I've spent my career building tools that make complicated processes feel simple, whether for insurance brokers, accountants, road warriors managing expenses, or small business owners running retirement plans. Construction is new for me, but I dove in headfirst, listening to and learning from our incredibly engaged customers and leaning on my in-house expert, my husband, who's in construction management on the owner side. That's how I learned just how tricky allowances can be, and today I'm excited to show you how we're making them much easier to manage.
Excellent. How we doing, guys? TJ Maglione here, account director with Clearstory. Been with the company about 5 years, and prior to that, spent a little over a decade in commercial and industrial construction. First as a field engineer, project manager, and then as a superintendent. So kind of live the real-time struggle and pain, not only of change orders and T&M, but also kind of on the closeout side of jobs, right? Reconciling allowances, contingencies, holds, and budgets that never really had a home in a system of record, more so on a side Excel spreadsheet. So super excited to show you guys, based on a lot of feedback we've gotten from our customers over the years, what Michelle and the team have built, and give you guys a high-level overview of the new feature. Okay, for those that might not know us, just a very quick overview, sort of what Clearstory is, what we do, right? We are, at our core function, our philosophy is to be a change order communication tool. Again, we are purpose-built for all stakeholders on the job, whether you are a specialty contractor, whether you're a general contractor, or whether you're, an owner or client representative. The goal for us, again, is to be a live, real-time look into every change order, every T&M ticket, every allowance, every contingency, everything that's outside of base contract, and to be the core, communication sort of platform for all stakeholders on the job to communicate out of contract cost. All right. And so kind of one of the biggest things that we've seen kind of across the board, from a lot of our customer interviews and a lot of people using the product over the years is change order management, communication, T&M is our core product, but a lot of what we've seen is allowances, contingencies kind of end up being what I like to call just always that side Excel spreadsheet, right? A lot of the folks that we interviewed who've used the product over the years and, potential new customers say, regardless of their system of record, right? Whether it's Procore, Autodesk, CMIC, SAP, et cetera, a lot of project teams, project engineers, project managers are still managing those allowances, those contingency budgets, those holds, whatever the nomenclature might be. Almost everybody's still on a side Excel spreadsheet. And kind of the biggest thing that we're trying to solve is the lack of real-time visibility, right? From a trade partner to a GC, and from the GC teams, most importantly, how do we reconcile this information? And then how do we communicate that, in a weekly OAC meeting with a client, with an owner? And the most important part, and the reason that we built this, was not just the day-to-day management of these budgets and sort of these funding sources, but also for project closeout. Change orders always seem to be the last thing holding up a job closeout. And the last of the last always seems to be reconciling sort of budget overruns on contingencies and allowances. So the purpose of building this in real time was to give project teams, all stakeholders, real-time visibility, and also allow for project teams to close out quicker and move on to the next one.
So this was actually the first project I really dove deep on after joining Clearstory, and I really wanted to build not just a feature, but really learn the industry. So to understand what GCs, trade partners, and owners were struggling with when it came to managing allowances and contingencies. So we started by getting really crystal clear on the problems, a lot of the ones that TJ just went through. People told us the pain points, budgets that were hard to track, surprise costs, and logs that were messy or incomplete. And we knew we could solve this, and we really wanted to solve it in the Clearstory way, clean, collaborative, and intuitive. I remember my first customer visit in Southern California. We were at a big electrical contractor, and TJ was there with me. We'd been going back and forth on how to visualize allowance details in a simple but powerful way. And I still remember sitting in the rental car, pulling up the latest mock-up on my laptop and showing TJ, and he looked at it and was like, "Yes, that's it. You got it." And that was our moment of knowing we'd cracked it. And that's how we ended up with something that gives live budget tracking, fewer surprises, and stronger alignment across all trades. And just as important, it closes the loop faster and leaves you with an audit-ready record. So here is, we designed this to work for everyone in the process, especially contractors, general contractors, and owners. That meant thinking from all perspectives to get the right intuitive setup. The goal is to make it easy to start while laying the groundwork for clean logs and structured reporting later. It's just a few clicks to create a bucket, tag it as an allowance, contingency, or hold, and you're ready to go without needing a complex setup or long training. So here, when you allocate your CORs to allowances, we really focused on having it fit naturally into the way people already work. We didn't want to create another big step or extra burden to manage this. So as CORs come in, they're reviewed just like any other, but now as part of that same review, you can tag them to an allowance bucket and that's it. We had a lot of feedback loops here to really make it as seamless as possible. So this is where the light bulb really goes on for users. We wanted instant clarity. At any moment, you can see how much is used, what's left, and where it's going. We iterated quite a bit on these visualizations to get to the point where they're really powerful but easy to read. And now it's just a snapshot away from understanding your position. So we know that not everyone on the project will be in Clearstory, but that shouldn't mean that the value stays locked inside. And so you can instantly export these logs, and the exports look like you see in the app. So the clarity, the professionalism carry through. It's all about making sharing just as easy as tracking. And then here is where, this is really core to Clearstory's DNA. We've always given users a detailed activity feed to show exactly what happened and when. With allowances, we really doubled down on that. So you can see every action tied to a specific allowance and the related COR. So when it comes to audits, you're ready to go. You don't have to scramble or dig. It's all right there.
All right, guys. Michelle, anything else to add before we jump into the demo?
No, you take it away, DJ.
All right, excellent. All right, guys. So what we'll do, we'll give a very high level overview, kind of from all viewpoints, whether you're a specialty trade on the call, general contractor. What I think is core to this new feature is that everything else, for current users or current customers of Clearstory, everything else that you do in the platform doesn't change. So what's really nice, what Michelle and the product and engineering team did was they put the Clearstory Allowances module sort of directly in line with the current workflow. So if you are a general contractor sending out pricing requests, receiving change orders via the COR log, the core workflow still exists the same. And now this is just sort of that sort of last mile of, hey, I need to take this receive proposal from a trade partner and I need to assign it to an allowance bucket, to a contingency bucket, et cetera. So what I'll do here, I'll start here and just show you where this will live. On the left side here, there's a new little button for those who haven't seen it. This is our allowance log. And so what's nice, when we pull this up, we broke it into two parts, right? So if I'm just from the general contractor view, let's just say, for example, I've got, a $100,000 touch-up paint allowance in the contract of my specialty contractor. So within this allowance log, on the contractor side, this is where all these allowances are going to live. And then on the flip side, let's assume that these allowances are in my GMP with a client, with an owner. They're not necessarily baked into the contract of my specialty trade. You'll have a side over here for any of these owner or client allowances, contingencies. So we kind of get both sides of those. As we know, there's different contract structures out there depending on your client, depending on the job, or depending, from a general contractor, depending on how you buy out your trades on the job. But in any event, these will be the view for the entire project team, regardless of what stakeholder you are. What I do want to highlight first here is kind of the ease of use of getting started with this. So again, nothing else changes in your workflow within Clearstory, but let's just say I want to create a new allowance or contingency. Very simply, I'm going to come up here to the top right, create. I'm going to select my project here. Then I'm going to decide, hey, is this a customer or client allowance? So if I'm a specialty contractor, is this in a GC allowance, right? Or if I am the general contractor, is this in my owner allowance, or the radio button here, is this in the trade partners contract? Then from there, we've got three main buckets. Michelle and the team surveyed hundreds, maybe 1,000 people on, everybody's got different nomenclature, right? Different jargon, right? A T&M ticket, a T&M slip, right? Allowance, contingency, hold. So we put three main buckets in here. Essentially at the end of the day, it's a funding source, right? So what you can do here is you select this, and then very simply, this is, I'll just make this one easy. This is OT acceleration. Let's say I've got 150 grand for that. And literally these four drop downs and those two text fields, that's how you create an allowance in Clearstory. So very simply there, I say what it is, and I give it a name, and then I give its funding source and the dollar amount. What's really nice from here, that's creating them. Super simple, right? 10, 15 seconds. Kind of the last piece of the workflow here, and I'm going to come to the change order log. So this is the view of a general contractor, right? So I'm on the GC side. I'm on my received change order log. Again, I've got every single change order that every trade has sent me. Kind of the beauty of this new workflow now is as I'm going through my typical Clearstory workflow, I've received the proposal from the trade. I've gone to the change order landing page, comments, markups, revisions, back and forth, all living within the platform. Now what I can do, let's say, hey, here's my glazer. There's some trade damage repair, and I want to assign this 650238 to an allowance or a contingency. All I need to do is come here and I click this edit button here on the side, and all the same details are going to show up that are typically on your sidebar. But now, as you scroll down here, what this will show you is, hey, I've got this customer allowance dropdown. So all the allowances that you created on the customer side will be here. And again, let's say, for instance, that this particular proposal from your glazer, right? You want to assign that to an in-contract allowance. You've got your contractor allowances here. So let's just assume this is in my client contract. Very simply, I can come in here and say, hey, I want to put that to, access panel allowance. What Clearstory will do, it's automatically going to put the total dollar value in here for you. But let's say you had a 10K proposal and you just want to assign 7,500 to that allowance. This is a free form field where you can actually put in, whatever draw you want for that. And then very simply, all you need to do here is click save, good to go. So again, what I think it's important to highlight is everything on the front end workflow in the platform, whether you're a GC or a specialty contractor, is exactly the same. Whether you're sending proposals or receiving them, the entire process is the same. But now we've got this feature where you can say, hey, this 650238, it needs to be assigned to this funding bucket, the access panels. The other really nice part with this feature is we've added a bunch of columns to the change order log. So instead of having to go back into this module and find this, what this will tell you is, hey guys, this proposal from my glazer, it now is assigned to this access panel budget. And this will hyperlink right here, and I can go right back into the allowance module. And what this is going to show me is a detailed allowance view of, hey, we started with 100K here. Out of these 5 proposals, we've got 54K remaining, and we've used up 45K of this with these 5 proposals. So it's a really nice way. Sort of my war stories from my previous life is you get a bunch of proposals, a bunch of tickets for, touch-up paint or patching, and you realize you've got 180K worth of proposals and you have a 50K, touch-up or patching, allowance. So what we're attempting to do with this new feature is keep, budget updates and forecasting allowance sort of draws and exhaustions as real time and as transparent as possible, not only from a GC to a downstream trade partner, but most importantly from a GC to a client in terms of how these budgets are being used, exhausted and reconciled as we get closer to closing out a project. So that's kind of a very high level of the allowance side here. And I'll jump back in just to show everybody sort of the log level. What I think is also really nice, just at a visual, obviously these will show you here in a log level view. Again, same format on the customer and the contractor side, but these will show you the name, original amount, total draw. And then Michelle, remind me again, what percentage of draw do these turn a separate color to kind of give the visual cue that we've run out of money?
I believe it's 80% turns to
Yeah.
orange. Yeah.
So I think, for project teams, whether, again, whether you're on the GC or the specialty trade subcontractor side, I think the hardest part with, managing that side Excel spreadsheet that's got 40 tabs on it is having that real-time communication with your upstream customer, whoever that might be, GC or client, right? Of where we are at on these, budgets and these forecasts, and how much do we have left, and when are we going to exhaust that? So if you're using the workflow correctly within the platform, this allows you to say, hey, this is a visual cue. I've run out of money on my blasting allowance, or hey, we're way underneath on dewatering. So it's a really nice way to have this information real time. Again, what Michelle showed earlier, everything's exportable to CSV or to a PDF. I think we've seen some of our early beta customers on project teams actually bring this up, right, in an OAC meeting and say, hey, this is now a line item in the agenda. Let's just pull up Clearstory. Let's see where we're at on these. And again, it's an easy visual to see, what have we assigned to what funding buckets and how much is left.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I was just on a call actually getting some more feedback from one of our beta customers, and she mentioned how useful the log is, and she's got a meeting coming up at the end of the month with her owner, and she's planning to use this as a part of the documentation that goes along with it. And also realize that, yeah, their cost consultant at the owner can log in and see this herself. So they no longer have to reach out to ask questions. That person's got direct access and can come check on things too, which just increases that transparency and efficiencies.
Excellent. Michelle, any other features I missed as I kind of rambled on through all my spiel here?
I think you covered most of them, most of the highlights.
All right.
There.
Well, I'm going to stop share here for a second, and then we can hop into a little Q&A here. I'm going to start on the chat side. And Chris Wood, let me know. All right, I'm going to start from the top, just on the chat side. Daniel Richards, allowance be able to be pushed to and from Procore. Yeah, so at a very high level, on the change order log side, Daniel, we have a full integration basically from the COR log into Procore financials. So any change order can be linked and sort of pushed, for lack of a better term, to a change event line item. Hopefully that answers that question. Melanie, if I need to change the allowance number for a change the allowance number, does that mean the dollar amount? Hopefully I can see what everybody is saying in here. Oh, new message, Melanie, the cost code. Okay. If you need to take a received change order and assign it, I'm not sure if you're talking about a Procore cost code, but if you need to revise where the change, where the received proposal is going to in a system of record, you can always revise that and send it to a new cost code and or budget code or contract code. Hopefully that's what you're asking. If not, definitely happy to reach out offline and kind of get a little deeper into the weeds. Will a recording? Yeah, I just have a question. Feel free. Okay. Sorry, Chris Wood, I'm going through all these.
Hey, good.
Hey, it's Linda. How
Yeah.
are you? All right. Can you attach a ticket with an estimated value? Fair question. Not yet. So right now, T&M tickets still need to go through the typical workflow in Clearstory where, the trade partner, clicks the wrench button and makes it into a proposal. So right now in Clearstory, we can tag priced change orders to an allowance. We can't take an estimate from a T&M ticket and tag it yet, but fair question. Can you assign a customer reference number to the allowances? Oh, that's a good question. Michelle, can we assign a customer reference number to the allowances?
So not currently, but that is actually something that the team's working
Okay.
on. That will be coming out very soon.
Excellent. Great question, Linda.
There's a question from Brooke in the Q&A as well, TJ.
Okay. Linda always wants extras. Yes, ma'am. Copy that. Got it. I'll have Greg get you a timeline immediately. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Do I have to change how I create COR? Sorry,
I
I'm
got
reading
one.
from the Q&A. Do I have to change how I create CORs? No. So what's nice with this sort of not tail end, but sort of, again, as I mentioned a few times in the call, nothing that you do in the platform has to change. So how you create change order requests, how you create T&M tickets, if you're a specialty contractor, none of that changes. So everything on the front end is the same. And then effectively, it's just a matter of tagging these proposals to an allowance or a contingency. All right. Linda, great question. So I'm going back into the chat, Chris Wood. So no, they don't double hit. Fair question. So if it's an allowance so a contractor allowance, you Gilbane set it up, it's in, Kone Elevators contract. If it's in their contract, then it will, and you assign it and say, hey, operator ride time, and you assign it and say, hey, this is an in-contract allowance. It will not add to their total contract value because it's not truly a change order. If it's a customer allowance, not in their contract, then effectively it's a customer allowance draw, and it would be truly a change order to their contract. So Michelle and the team did build it that way. That way, you're not double counting proposals or having to negate anything out. Brooke, good question. Very simply, to keep it super simple, there's just a part of the world where people call contingencies, they just call them holds. There's no other reason other than that. It's just a naming convention. People call T&M tickets different things, they call proposals different things. So that was it.
I can actually add a little bit of insight there too, because we did hear that from a few different, it was a term we heard from some customers, but not all customers. So it definitely was less standard. But for customers we heard using that, they wanted a different term to distinguish. Basically, this was a line item reserved for known scope and unknown costs, similar, but it's managed at their company's discretion and risk. So it's up to typically for this, it was like up to the GC, not up to the owner. And so they could, like, unused funds would typically be retained by them instead of going back to the owner. So it was just a different way of structuring that bucket of money.
Excellent. Michelle, I don't know if you want to take this one. It's a good question, though, from Craig James. Can you confirm that contractors cannot see customer allowances?
That's correct. So it's basically, it mirrors the sent and received log on the change order side, right? So the contractor side is shared between you and your contractor, and the customer side is shared between you and your customer.
Excellent. Good question. All right. What else, guys? All right. Great feedback. Thank you, Linda, for the feedback. Very kind of you. Happy to bring this out. And there's definitely a couple other iterations on this that are forthcoming. Customer reference number to get the PCI in there for you as well. And then, kind of, a little preview. Michelle, I'll probably talking out of turn here, but, kind of the ability, these are hard dollars, right? There's a few of our specialty contractor customers where a lot of their allowances are in quantities, right? In hours, in lineal feet, in some sort of unit of measure. So that's kind of the next phase of this, where we want to bring that into the platform. Linda, to your point of, T&M being early flagged to an allowance, or sometimes allowances don't have dollars, right? It's elevator ride time, 500 hours, or patching X amount of square feet, CDSM patching, lineal feet. So it's another iteration that we want to put onto this, but this was kind of the first in place. Again, holistically, to get our customers out of those side Excel spreadsheets and have real-time visibility into where these budgets are and when they're overrun. All right, I'm just going to bring up one more slide here. Can you
get
link a
one other question in the chat too?
Yep. I'm going to bring up the last slide here,
Okay.
Michelle, if you want to answer that one. And,
Yeah. So currently, no, you can't link a T&M tag directly to an allowance. It's only once it's priced onto a COR, you can tag that COR.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, here's our very cool generic photo of the, closing slide. But anyway, thanks everybody for joining. Appreciate the good feedback and the good questions. And now I don't have my chat thing up, so I don't know if anybody's asking more questions. But if anybody would like, I think there's a link, Chris, right, for folks to interact with us afterwards. We're more than happy to set up a sort of a one-on-one, more detailed demo if there's more questions or more specific questions to your team or your projects.
Yeah, anyone who's interested in seeing more, obviously reach out to our team. We're happy to get you on a one-on-one demo and just give you a live walkthrough of how allowances can make a difference on your current and future projects. Otherwise, thanks everyone for coming. Oh, you can find the recording afterwards on our website and also on our YouTube page. So on the website, there is a webinar page and all of our recordings are there. We'll also follow up to all attendees tomorrow with an email that has a link to the recording. Otherwise, any other questions, reach out to our team. We're really happy to show you this new feature today and really looking forward to working with you again in the future. Thanks.